Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with these nerds.
Nathan Nerdark.
Nerdarchy is Ted.
And today we're controlling the battlefield with cantrips.
In the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So we were doing some research on creating controller builds for spellcasters. And one of the things we started realizing was there is a lot of cantrips that actually allow you to control the battlefield.
Yeah, we didn't even make it out of cantrips for this.
Yeah, and we're gonna I guess we can rank them and list them as all of our casters and where they kind of fall in it.
Okay.
So we can start at the least controlly of all the casters, and that's actually cleric.
Cleric doesn't really have much in the ways of manipulation with this.
With the battlefield, nothing. They don't control anybody. It's just not their thing. But the next least useful as far as controlling the battlefield with your cantrips would have to be the bard.
Bard only has Vicious Mockery, so it's not a lot to work with.
And Vicious Mockery is a debuff. So if you use it on someone, they fail their saving throw, they get disadvantage on the next attack.
It's great that it does psychic damage, but it's still a saving throw for it.
Yeah, well, I love Vicious Mockery. I think it's a great cantrip, but the bard just doesn't have that much access to those. So I guess the next next lowest tier on the ladder?
That's going to be druid.
Okay, well, he made it to the ladder at least.
He made it to the ladder, and it's only because of the elemental, or the player's guide to elemental evil, that they actually get a couple more spells outside of the player's handbook to kind of put him above the bard.
Yeah, because before that he only had Thorn Whip.
Right.
And now he gets Gust and Frostbite.
Right.
So, but to be honest with you, Thorn Whip is one of my favorite control spells anyway.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic spell.
So next, that would bring us to the warlock.
And the warlock is, people's favorite, in a lot of ways in this edition. And Eldritch Blast, with the constant manipulation of being able to push people away, it's an incredibly useful spell, and there's ways to manipulate it even.
The Warlock would be low on the cantrip control aspect, except it got a boost from the Skag.
Sword Coast Adventures Guide for those folks following at home. Yeah, because all the cantrips in there, all the spells in there are for sorcerer, warlock, wizard. So everyone has access to them. I'm actually playing with a warlock now that uses green flame blade.
All right, so we round the list off with your lumped together sorcerers and wizards.
Yeah, they pretty much have the same spell list, and they get a bunch of options.
Almost all the options. There's only a few missing out of theirs, and that's the ones that belong to Bard, Vicious Mockery, the Thorn Whip from Druid, and I don't remember the third one.
Eldritch Blast from Warlock.
Eldritch Blast, of course.
How could you forget
Yes.
Eldritch Blast?
One of the coolest cantrips.
Yeah.
All right, so
how are we breaking down control cantrips? What defines a cantrip as being controlled?
okay, well, so there's three different tiers that we're going to lump together, and that's going to be a debuff, something that's going to affect an enemy in a way to make it harder for them. Movement manipulation, either stopping them from moving, pushing them, pulling them,
Or giving them the choice to move, to not move or take damage.
right. And then we get into area of effect. Anytime you can damage multiple things is going to fall into that group.
Right. And for the debuffs, I would say generally that causes disadvantage or some kind of penalty, like you can't use a reaction, as with Shocking Grasp, just to even further explain what that kind of means.
Yeah,
Right.
the debuffs are always, the target's always losing something. Losing
Yes.
movement, losing ability to hit something, that kind of thing.
All right, so in our debuff category, we have Shocking Grasp, which, as you just said, they lose their reaction, which is very helpful if you're trying to get away.
Yeah, and actually, I actually kind of poo-pooed on Shocking Grasp a little bit for your generic wizard. Actually, it's a great cantrip to have if you're a wizard. And we always talk about if you're doing certain things and you're a spellcaster, things have gone horribly wrong. And Melee is one of them, right?
Yeah, slapping somebody in the face with a spell, yeah.
But maybe you don't have access to higher level spells, or your spell slots are depleted, or you just want to save them. Reach out with a Shocking Grasp, deny your enemy their reaction, and you can just run away.
Absolutely.
Another debuff that helps you run away is Ray of Frost. It lets you slow them down by 10 feet of movement and also damage them. So that really helps getting away as well.
Well, yeah, and well, not only does it help getting away, it keeps them from getting to you. Sometimes more important.
So as we talked about, Vicious Mockery is the one from the Bard's list. It's fantastic, and it's one of those that you can really play up the role playing aspect of the game by getting into that one. And it is sadly one of the save or suck spells, but if they fail their save, they're taking psychic damage and
Right,
disadvantage.
you can your mama joke them so hard it literally kills them. But if it doesn't kill them, you might give them disadvantage on their next attack. You've so demoralized them.
And following the exact same layout is Frostbite. Out of the Player's Guide to Elemental Evil, and it literally is just the same as Vicious Mockery, flavored to cold damage.
Well, and the other thing that's nice about this too, it gives you another damage type. So maybe if you're fighting fire creatures, this might be a good thing to use.
Next on the debuff list is Chill Touch, and I really like this one because it's highly situational, but when you need it, you need it. It stops them from regenerating and getting health back. So that helps against regenerating creatures, and it also helps against people healing and other things like that.
Screw you, troll!
So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the necromancy spells, but having that one for those troll fights, it's a game changer.
So isn't Chill Touch also a debuff in another way too?
Oh yeah, it also, if you hit an undead with it, the undead has disadvantage on its next attacks against you.
Against you.
Yeah,
That's the important part.
It's not super awesome, but that's a nice added bonus.
Hey, if you're the wizard that the undead are attacking, that's a great debuff.
So you mentioned that Thorn Whip is your favorite druid cantrip.
No, it's one of my favorite cantrips in the game, to be honest with you. And that's one of our forced move ones.
Right. So that starts the next category of forced move, and that's the isolated druid one that we lock in, and that actually pulls an opponent forward. So if they're trying to run away or you want to get them towards the group faster, it's a great way to do it.
Well, yeah, and when you get into the forced movement powers, or cantrips, I should say, what you're really looking to do is move them into dangerous situations, or keep them from getting away, push them off a cliff, push them into a cloud of daggers, whatever the case may be.
Pull them towards the fighter.
You could technically even pull them out of cover.
That's true as well. Booming Blade is one of the ones that is a movement control is a controller of movement, but it does it in a different way. It doesn't push them, it doesn't pull them. It puts a barrier of sonic energy around them, or thunder energy, I guess you would say.
Thunder.
Thunder. Now, this thunder energy surrounds them, and if they move, they take the damage.
I like that it gives them the choice, but a lot of times, like weaker foes or weakened foes, they're not going to be able to make that choice, so they're going to be stuck where they are or fall.
As a DM, you and Mark have used the spell a handful of times in my games, and most of the time it's like, listen, you're going to stand there in melee fighting this thing anyway, so it's not that big of a threat. So like this one really does require a situational. So if they're in an area of effect and then you nail them with that one, they're going to take damage if they stay. They're going to take damage if they go. So it's important to know with Booming Blade that if somebody does a forced move affect them out of the area, the spell just kind of follows them. They have to willingly move. So
Now, I believe there are certain spells that require you to use your action to make movement. So I wonder how they would interact. You're not willingly moving, but you kind of are because you found a saving throw, and now you want to... there's definitely one of the fear effects, use your reaction to run away.
right.
So I'm kind of curious how that would interact, and we might need Jeremy Crawford in on this one.
Yeah. So I would say, you failed the save. You're willingly running away because of a magical effect. I would roll that as take the damage.
Yeah, I would as well as a DM.
Yeah, it's not like you're getting gusted out or you're getting punched by some monk out of the spot.
You became terrified.
Yeah.
Another one that's a pull and is fun is Lightning Lure. It's a close range spell, but you can pull them in another 10 feet. Again, this is going to be useful. Who knows? You're pulling people into a pit. You're, pulling them towards your fighter, like you said. It helps you control the battlefield.
Absolutely. So gust. This is your. You're just going to manipulate them with wind, but the awesome part is it's non-directional, so you can pick which way they're getting pushed. So you can push them away from you, closer to you, to the left, to the right,
Off a rope bridge.
off a bridge.
So with this one, we finally have one that in fourth edition would be considered a slide,
Yes.
right? So everything else up until this point has either been a pull or a push,
Yes,
or you might not want to move.
it's directional to you, whereas this one, it's got the full 360 degree.
Now the next one on the list is another one of my favorites. I just think it's thematical. It doesn't do a super ton of damage, but if you want to play a Gish and you want to fight things, Green Flame Blade is nice because you hit your target, and then a little bit of damage will jump to an adjacent foe.
So here's where we're getting into the multiple sets of damage or area of effect, and it's exactly right. If you're it's a low level spell, so really great for your goblins and kobolds. Technically, you swing at one dude, and somehow you kill two.
Sturges, great for Sturges
Flank
in the very
six.
beginning because it's only like your modifier in damage,
Right.
but it goes up from there. And then it goes up to a die 8 to the guy you hit, and a die 8 plus your modifier to the guy next to him, and it keeps going up that way. So as you get higher levels, it's kind of a nice thing you can do.
I like it for the super epic hero awesomeness that you hit somebody so hard you hit his friend.
That does, that does create a nice little, theater of the mind scene.
Yes.
So now the next one is kind of like an oddball, right? And it's very popular. Eldritch Blast. Because as you get more powerful and your Eldritch Blast gets more powerful, instead of just doing more damage per strike, you get more strikes. So so it's not your typical area of effect. But at the same time, this one also falls into movement because with invocations, you can affect movements. Now, right out of the player's handbook, I believe there's only one repelling blast, and that's a push. But you got I've seen it ruled different ways. But you have 4. You could technically get up to 4 blasts, so that could be possibly 4 pushes. So that's a lot in one in one round, 40 feet.
Absolutely, and for most humanoids, that's actually going to push them more than what they've got the ability to do if you get subsequent attacks. And Ryan's actually talked about making characters, and it's like, okay, they're well beyond the range of most other things, and I'll just sit there and ping them until they're dead.
Well, yeah, like if you take it's got a decent range all by itself, but then if you take the Eldritch Spear, it doubles that range, and then if you really want to add insult to injury, you take Spell Sniper, doubles it again. So like even if it's not enough range to even if the push isn't enough to keep them out of range on their own, you're hitting them from so far away. Like by the time they could get to you, they've been pinged to death, like you said.
How many rounds of movement? And since it's a cantrip, there really is no limitation to the number of castings you have.
Yeah.
So
Then we also have another one is Sword Burst, and actually it's worth mentioning too with Eldritch Blast, same as Sword Burst, they're force damage. So not a lot of things resist force damage. Also important. Now Sword Burst is basically everything within 5 foot of you. Bam. He's going to take that damage. It's force damage,
and that's nice.
So it's not a ton of damage. It's a cantrip. No other cool effects, but it gets the job done.
And it's multiple targets, which is always nice when you're a caster with action economy.
All right, so next up on the list is Thunderclap. This is another one that falls with Druid, and it's out of the player's companion.
Yeah. So Druid, Wizard, Sorcerer, they all can have access to this one, and it's basically anybody within 5 foot of you. Boom, thunder damage, makes a loud sound. So from 100 feet away, someone can hear it. And it's a Constitution save. It's save or suck. So either they take the damage or they don't. But it does give you another way to target a different saving throw as well.
And the thing to also look at, while it's not while it's not going to fall into this, it is a way to be able to technically signal your friends. Oh crap!
Well, that's true. Actually, no, I would absolutely say that's relevant as well. If you're the wizard on watch and you need to do some damage and wake everybody up.
Start the combat off with a bang.
Literally.
Yeah. Or you have your other buddy with cantrips as well. Use shocking grasp, some thunder and lightning. Yeah, baby.
I see a set of wizard twins, sorcerer twins.
And lastly on our list for, the area effect damage is Acid Splash.
Right, and this is again is sorcerer and wizards, and hit one target, you can hit another target within 5 feet. So you're getting multiple. This falls on like Eldritch Blast. You get multiple targets.
All right, so this rounds out our controlling cantrips, if you will. If you feel there's something that we missed or something we got wrong, it's a great place to continue that discussion. And that's down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can tweet at us over on Twitter at Nerdarchy. Let us know your favorite cantrips.
You also patronize us in a good way over on Patreon.
So until next time,
Stay
stay
nerdy.
nerdy.